Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be going over the Death Hunt Part 3 roadmap. I'm just going to show you which team I'm going to use to beat the entire roadmap. I'm only going to show you the hardest stage on each act, but I will obviously show you the team I build before I do the hardest act. The way I like to build my teams for these particular roadmaps is I like to have a fundamental 3-character team, and then I add 2 based on the allegiance that we are required to use. If we get a bonus where we're already using someone from that allegiance, that's great, but otherwise at least we have the fundamentals of the team to make it work so that we're going to have a better chance to win. I am of course talking about this Death Hunt roadmap right here. It is part 3. As you can see, there are 4 acts. The first act has no restrictions. You just need to have actual mythic characters from silver to limit break 3 gold. Then the next one has restrictions of holiday heroes needing 2. Then the next one has restrictions of needing day 1 or RTS characters needing 2. And then the last one has Skybound X1 or Skybound X2, again, as limited to at least having 2 characters for this roadmap. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to see what team we are actually going to be facing, just so we can actually build the team against it. If I go in against the team, this is going to be the team that's going to be on every single stage that we come up against. It's just going to progressively get harder during the act, and then it will go back to an easier version at the beginning of the next act, so on and so forth. You can see the obvious issue we're going to face straight away is infection. My character has a 75% infection straight away. This is because of Zoo up the top. If I was to be using an entire team here, I'd have more characters with infection, because the leader skill here of John is also going to give out infection. So characters that can deal with infection obviously are going to be very important. There is only really one character that I know that has heavy infection resist early on in the fight, and I think that's Trader. So it looks like Trader is going to be the leader for this one, just like Jackie here was the leader for the last one, because we had Burn given out, and she obviously blocks Burn with her leader skill. Now as you can see, I've made my way through the entire roadmap. I am on the stage 5, and I will say this is obviously extremely difficult, especially with the restrictions I'm putting myself under. I have swapped out a character as well. I've swapped out Heng Yen, because percentage damage wasn't really doing anything. I put in another control character in Diamond, and I may actually put in Carl into her slot when I'm using this team against the non-holiday hero stages, because Carl is very good. Control is really important. I'm going to rely heavily on the infection and just trying to control the characters to not, take any damage in the first couple of turns. The most important thing in terms of starting the fight is that the infection lands on 2 particular characters, Eris and Zoo. If it doesn't land on those 2 characters, you have to restart with this team, because you're never going to be able to take out Zoo without him being infected off of turn 1, because when I do the signature move here from John, it will infect him, whereas I want it to do heal reduction instead, because he's got a really overpowered passive when it comes to countering infection. Also, we want Eris to die early in the fight, and if she doesn't have infection, then she's not going to be able to die early on in the fight. We also need to control her in that state as well. We'll get into that bit as well. Okay, so we start the fight and we have got the infection on Zoo and on Eris this time. Now when we do the signature move of John, you can see it gets 75% heal reduction on Zoo, and we get a 50% infection on Carlson. This is the best case scenario, honestly. We don't actually want Carlson to be infected if possible. That's just so that it lands on one of these 2 characters and we can take them out as well. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove the Guardian Shield. I'm going to do this with Eva because she's going to gain AP naturally. And then I'm going to stun with Carl. And now you can see I've got 3 characters stunned. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to select this character and stun with Diamond. And now we've got 4 characters stunned. We could have got lucky and got here. But what I'll do is I'll do an endless confuse here, and it should be pretty decent. Unfortunately, he hits the one character where he's actually going to do damage, which is fantastic. Which is absolutely fantastic. And we're just going to slowly wait until the infections do the job. Carlson's dropped now, which is nice and early. As you can see, this guy's going to drop next turn, so is she. But we also... Oh, she's actually going to be out, which is nice. We're going to get another impair in here. The only character, these three characters are going to do attacks, but there's Guardian Shields. I'm hoping that everything's going to be okay here. I'm going to remove the bonus HP of this character. I think that East Eva should survive, but we'll see. Basic attack comes out of Eris. She doesn't get a kill. She goes into Outlast. She's stunned, which is great. And now we're just going to probably just auto. And we should be able to take out this character who's going to be left by himself. It'll be slow, but he should be able to take him out. I'm not sure how she just revived herself, like randomly. That was kind of strange, honestly. I'm not sure what happened there. She didn't get a kill. She just randomly revived like a couple of turns after she died. That's really strange. Does this character have... I'm not even sure what happened there, guys. She should have never revived. We're going to have the same situation occur. She's not going to get a kill. I'm going to take her out. And now I'm going to stun her in Outlast state. So she's not going to get a kill. I wonder if... Look, she's definitely not got Halo here, guys, right? I'm going to hit auto again. Just randomly, like, self-revives. That was really strange, honestly. But we do manage to get through the stage. It's a little bit more simplistic if you use a very heavy control team. But you're going to have to restart to get, like, the perfect start quite a bunch. Now, because this team is also exactly the same team that's used in Act 2, as you can see, I can use it straight away because it has got 2 holiday heroes. I'm not going to show the boss stage on this one because it's going to be exactly the same. We're going to skip right on to the next allegiance, which is going to be Day 1 and RTS. So after completing the second act, I'm going to move on to the third act, and this is where we're going to use characters from Day 1 and RTS. And as you can see, I have shifted Carl into Diamond Spot. I think he's going to be a bit more useful than Diamond over the actual entirety of the fight. Now, I have gone over the characters already for these 2 allegiances. There aren't that many control characters. There is pretty much just one that stands out, and it's going to be in the Road to Survival allegiance. And if we just bring up the characters from that, you can see it's pretty much just going to be Mirabelle. That's pretty much it. No other characters as a control character here. If you do have Raven, obviously go for Raven, but Mirabelle here will be used instead. She has got Confuse, and she has got some Guardian Shields, which are actually going to be pretty important. Not much else. You could potentially put an Infection Rifle in her hands. I can't remember whose rifle that is. If you managed to get it, it was from a previous battle pass. But we won't do that with her. We'll just give her a 1535 and some, obviously, a bit of attack here. Actually, we'll give him more of a defensive one, as you can see. And then in the last slot, there isn't any other control characters, pretty much, as you can see. No one really is that much of a control character here, unless you've got Raven. You can go to Day 1, and it's pretty much the same deal. No control characters, but I think that if you use Mr. Jones, you can take advantage of one of his passives, and it is this one. Short life at the start of each wave, 50% chance a single enemy gets 25% infection for 1 turn. As long as that doesn't land on Zoo, and if you didn't see from the clip before, it was Zoo that obviously applied Halo to Eris, but as long as it doesn't land on Zoo, it should be good. If it lands on Alpha, great. If it lands on basically anyone except Zoo, I think it's going to be good. If it lands on Eris, you have to impair her that first turn, and honestly, Eris probably would be the best potential. I'm just going to leave it with the base weapon, and we're going to try and go in. I'm going to go through the roadmap, and we'll get on to the very last stage and see how good it is against the toughest stage. Okay, guys, with that team, I managed to get to the last stage. Now, it doesn't look like it went well, but it was actually extremely smooth. I didn't have to, do too many fights. I had to restart to get the good start, but I didn't have to redo it too many times. They did take out my characters, but that's just the way it goes. This team worked very well. As I said, the 25% infection just can't land on Zoo, and it has to apply just to make it easier. We only got 3 infections here, so we're going to keep restarting until we just get that 25% infection to apply to somebody, just so we can get extra infections off the first turn. Now, I actually came to the conclusion that the best actual way this can go is that the only person that doesn't get infection is Carlson, and that's because we're going to apply it with the signature move off of turn 1. Now everyone is infected, and we just have to survive these 3 turns, and everyone will die. Eris will die last. She will get the halo from Zoo, but because she's last, she's not going to obviously self-revive. And then now we have to just, like I say, survive. So we're going to stun a couple of characters. Who's got a 2-turn infection? He has, and he has. So we're going to stun those 2. So they'll actually be taken out. We're going to confuse this one and endlessly confuse this one. And then we'll just do a basic attack with Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones isn't here to do too much. We should lose 1 straight away. And because he was stunned, I actually get a rush here. So I can now impair for free. And now Eris can't rush. And that's pretty much it, honestly. That's pretty much it. I can just hit auto. This team, honestly, was buttery smooth. Buttery smooth. And it's going to be able to complete this stage without too much of a problem, as you can see. That made it look way too easy. But, yeah. I obviously, that was much better than I did in the previous stages, as you can see. I did 3-star it. But it generally was in, like, 3 or 4 turns that I was winning these stages. But you just have to have a good start. Make sure that Mr. Jones gets that infection to apply. Okay, so now moving on to the final roadmap, we are going to be able to use Skybound X or Skybound X2 as the allegiance. And we can easily search both allegiances at the same time by just typing in Skybound. And you'll see all the Skybound X characters come up. X1, X2, it doesn't matter which ones you want to use. There aren't too many controllers here. That is worth noting. There are not too many controllers here. We can use Michonne, as she's pretty much the only one that's going to be able to do any control. She has a first turn stun, and she has stun on attack weapon potential. She also has Guardian Shield. She's probably the best character here for this roadmap. The other character is down to you. You could potentially go for Carl and kind of try and use his passive, where when teammates die, they have a chance of reviving another teammate that's already died. That could be actually pretty decent. You go for another character that is actually a control character. I've never actually used Laurie 2000, so I might actually just use her just for fun. And we're going to put a stun on attack weapon in this character's hands. If you did get the Louisville bat here, use the Louisville bat. Otherwise, just use an old school, like, normal stun on attack weapon like this. And just kind of hope for the best when it comes for that stun application. I'm going to use that 60% weapon. And as that was given out quite freely to everybody at one point. And then on this character, if you have a control weapon, use it. If you've got a second, like, impair on attack weapon, that sort of thing, do use it. Because we're going to have to get kind of lucky on this one. I'm just going to go through this act, get to the final stage. I might make some tweaks to this team if it's not working. But it should be okay. And here I am on the last stage of the roadmap, and it was pretty smooth, honestly, with this team, and it was really nice to use a character I've never got the chance to use before in Laurie 2K. We're going to just hit the attack. The best potential outcome we can have is that Zoo gets the infection. He has to get the infection, but actually it's funny enough that Eris doesn't get the infection and Carlson doesn't get the infection. These 3 get infection is the best, because that way when I apply this to this line, Carlson also gets the infection, and all 4 of these characters will get taken out, and we can just work on Eris last. She'll be controlled, everything. So when she goes into Outlast and she actually gets taken down, even if she somehow does take out somebody with a basic attack, she's not going to revive herself. So we're just going to restart until at least Carlson doesn't get infection and this guy does. But if we can get it where Eris doesn't get infection as well, big bonus. Okay, so we start this fight and we have got Zoo with the infection and Eris without it. We're going to have to basically use the second signature move of John to infect this line. It will take a little bit longer. It's not too much of a problem. We just have to survive. It's pretty much as simple as that. And survive we will try to do. We're going to try and get some stuns off, which we managed to stun the entire team again, which is very nice. And we'll move on to the next turn. I think I'll do the endless infection. The endless confuse on this character right here, because she will come out of the stun. Now that's not great. That's not great, but unfortunately for me, I have got a character that is going to be able to impair Eris, and that is going to be Laurie 2000. We'll get to the second application very soon. We'll try and get in a stun here just so that we don't have some stuff going off. We've got Guardian shields up. 3 characters should drop now. There we go. And then now I can obviously do this to this line of characters. I can impair her. I can stun both if I can get lucky. I didn't get lucky. We can confuse her. And it should be okay unless I mistimed it. I might have mistimed it actually. I might have had to have waited an extra turn because of the halo on Alpha. She might go into halo, which is not great. Oh no, she doesn't go into halo. It wore out. So there we go. Simple as that. It seems more difficult with this team, but as long as Eris doesn't get the infection and Zoo does, it's very straightforward with the no application of halo to Eris in the Outlaw state, which was what happened before. And I was very confused because I didn't notice the halo, because I didn't notice her get a takedown. So yeah, that was confusing. So that's it for this little quick walkthrough guide on this roadmap. This is only going to be one of the ways you can do it. It's just one of the ways that I decided to do it. I thought it was quite fun too to do it this way with the infection and stuff like that. And it was nice to use some characters that I've never used before, namely Laurie 2000. If you come up with another idea or a team that you fundamentally use, the actual 3 fundamental characters used in your team, feel free to leave that information in the comments down below to help other players. But if this helped you, give it a thumbs up. Hopefully share it with your faction and so on and so forth. Thank you very much for tuning into this video, guys. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.